The chamber of the Council of Six, the governing body of the Rawla, was a chaotic buzz of wings and chittering voices. Their planet, Tainara Prime, once a shining hub of their empire, was now a shadow of its former self. War had reduced their system to a crumbling defense. The Verbgots had claimed 3 of their planets and cut off vital resupply lines. 2 years of relentless invasion had left the Rawla battered and desperate. Chief Advisor Calix clicked her mandibles and addressed the council. If we do not act decisively now, the Verbgots will conquer Tainara Prime within weeks. We must take a drastic step. The Deathworlders have offered their assistance. A collective gasp rippled through the council. The Deathworlders, the race of legend, of fearsome might and unyielding cunning. Humans. They are mercenaries, hissed Councillor Vrixen, his wings quivering. They will demand more than we can ever pay. Calix's multifaceted eyes flashed. Do you think the Verbgots will leave us with anything to pay, should they succeed? Better to have a future under debt than no future at all. The Rawla Defense Fleet held position near the asteroid ring that encircled Tainara Prime. From the observation decks, the sleek black forms of the human ships emerged from hyperspace, their hulls bristling with weapons. They bore the insignia of the Deathworlder Ghosts, a skull wreathed in flames, and their mere presence sent shivers through the Rawla. Admiral Theros of the Ghosts, a stoic man with graying hair and eyes that seemed to see through every facade, met with the Rawla Council virtually. Our terms are simple, Theros said, his voice low and deliberate. We will push the Verbgots back, reclaim your lost planets, and restore your supply lines. In exchange, you will cede 30% of your asteroid mining rights for the next 50 years to us. The council erupted in protests, but Calix silenced them. Admiral Theros, we accept your terms. Theros nodded. Good. Prepare to move your forces. The ghosts do not fail, but you will need to trust our methods. The first target was Rixon 4, a mineral-rich world whose mines were now under Verbgot control. The Verbgots had fortified the planet with surface-to-space artillery and air superiority, confident that the Rawla would never mount a successful counterattack. The ghosts shattered that confidence in hours. Human orbital bombardment paved the way. Precision strikes targeted the anti-aircraft batteries, obliterating them in fiery explosions. The ghosts then deployed drop pods, armored capsules that hurtled from their ships to the surface. Inside were elite soldiers clad in black exoskeletons that enhanced their strength and agility. They were virtually invisible, thanks to adaptive camouflage that blended with the environment. The Verbgots scrambled to respond, deploying ground troops and tanks to the mining hubs they had commandeered. But the ghosts moved like shadows, striking with devastating precision. Snipers eliminated command officers, while demolition teams planted charges that tore through Verbgot bunkers. In one engagement, a Verbgot squadron guarding a mine found themselves surrounded. The humans attacked with terrifying coordination, their movements fluid and calculated. The Verbgots fell one by one, their cries of panic drowned out by the roar of human weapons. By the end of the day, Rixon 4 was liberated. The ghosts raised the Rawla banner above the largest mining facility, a symbol of defiance that resonated across the system. Quarun, the industrial hub of the Rawla system, had been turned into a factory for the Verbgot war machine. Its cities now churned out weapons and supplies for the invasion, guarded by a fleet of warships in orbit. The Ghosts' strategy was unconventional. Instead of directly attacking the fleet, they used cloaked ships to infiltrate the Verbgot factories. Teams of saboteurs disabled the power grids, and detonated fuel depots. Explosions rippled through the planet's industrial centers, throwing the Verbgut forces into chaos. As the Verbguts scrambled to regain control, the Ghosts launched their fleet in a surprise assault. Human warships, smaller but faster and armed with advanced weaponry, outmaneuvered the Verbgut vessels. On the surface, the Ghosts deployed mechanized infantry and aerial drones, overwhelming the remaining Verbgut defenders. The Ghosts' exoskeletons made them nearly unstoppable, and their drones struck with surgical precision. In the final hours of the siege, Verbgut General Haxar attempted to rally his troops, but as he addressed them from the central command tower, a human sniper eliminated him from over a kilometer away. The morale of the Verbgut forces crumbled, and Quarren was reclaimed. The last planet to be liberated was Tyrael, a desolate, frozen world covered in glaciers. The Verbguts had turned its icy caves into fortresses, using the harsh environment to their advantage. The Ghosts adapted quickly. They deployed thermal suits and heavy walkers to navigate the ice, while their engineers carved paths through the glaciers with plasma drills. The Verbguts ambushed the Ghosts at every opportunity, using the terrain to launch surprise attacks. But the humans responded with unrelenting ferocity. They used flamethrowers to flush out hidden defenders and explosives to collapse entire ice tunnels. One particularly brutal battle took place in a massive ice cavern. The Verbguts had entrenched themselves behind walls of ice and rock, their plasma cannons targeting anything that moved. The Ghosts responded with shock troops, heavily armed soldiers who charged the fortifications under the cover of smoke grenades. The cavern echoed with the sounds of gunfire, explosions, and the anguished cries of the dying. By the time the battle ended, the ice walls were stained with Verbgut blood, and the humans stood victorious. With the Rala planets reclaimed and the Verbgut forces in retreat, the Rala celebrated their hard-won victory. But their relief was short-lived. Admiral Theros returned to the Council of Six with the final invoice. It was as agreed, 30% of the asteroid mining rights in the Rala system for 50 years. "This is steep," Calyx said, her voice trembling. "But we are grateful. You have saved us." Theros nodded, his face unreadable. "Business is business." The Rala signed the agreement, ceding the mining rights to the Ghosts. The humans departed shortly after, their ships vanishing into hyperspace. For a time, the Rala believed they had secured peace. Months later, Rala miners working in the asteroid fields reported the presence of Verbgut mining ships. Confused and alarmed, the Rala leadership demanded an explanation. They arranged a meeting with the Verbgut mining leaders, hoping to understand how their enemies had gained access to the fields. The answer was chilling. Weeks before the final battle on Tyrael, the Ghosts had contacted the Verbgut government. They offered the Verbguts a deal. If the Verbguts surrendered to the humans and abandoned their campaign, the Ghosts would lease them the asteroid mining rights for the same 50-year period. "It was a pragmatic arrangement," said the Verbgut mining overseer, his orange scales gleaming. "Your system was never our true goal. It was the resources we needed. The humans understood this." The Rala Council of Six convened in fury and despair. They had paid a high price to reclaim their planets, only to see the resources of their system handed to their enemies. Calyx stood before the council, her wings drooping. "We trusted the Deathworlders to fight for us. We forgot that they fight for no one but themselves." The story of the Deathworlder Ghosts spread across the galaxy, a cautionary tale of the cost of desperation. The Rowla had learned too late that the humans' cunning was as fearsome as their strength. But as the Rowla rebuilt their worlds, they vowed never to forget. They would not make the same mistake again.